setting out of our blueprint for what the first 100 days of a DA government would look like after the election. And this is important because in as little as 14 weeks from today, it will be the day before South Africa's 7th democratic election. 30 years after our country made the transition to democracy, the 2024 general election is set to be South Africa's next great transition. 1994 was a transition to rescue South Africa from exclusion and conflict. 2024 will be a transition to rescue South Africa from corruption and state collapse. The scale of change that this year's election will bring is unlike anything that we have witnessed since 1994. For the first time, the ANC will lose its national majority. For the first time, the ANC will lose its majority in many provinces in the country. And for the first time, the DA has a pathway to now enter provincial and national government beyond the borders of the Western Cape, while also winning our flagship province with a bigger outright majority. In April last year, I announced from the floor of the Democratic Alliance's Federal Congress that my party would commit itself to forming a moonshot pact with like-minded opposition parties. I vividly remember how, at that time, many commentators rushed to simply write this initiative off. Many claimed it would never get off the ground. Many said that opposition leaders did not have it within them to actually begin to work together for the first time in our democratic history. Nearly a year later, and those skeptics have been proved comprehensively wrong. Now known as the Multi-Party Charter for South Africa, this group of 11 parties have put in many, many long hours of work to forge the relationships that we need to form a new government. And I'm very grateful in the audience today to have the midwife of that process, Dr. William Gumede, with us. I didn't know the gender-specific male alternative for midwife, so I'm just using it as a general term, William. Yeah, mid-person. And just last week, the Charter had its first joint registration event, which brought together young voters from across the different parties who came together to show South Africa that we can win when we are united. The Charter has also been working very hard and adopted a series of joint policy approaches, and we plan to ramp up the activities as the election approaches. The level of inter-party cooperation is unprecedented in the history of South African democracy. That parties as diverse as the DA, the IFP, the Freedom Front Plus, Action SA, Asanko, the UIM, and others have been working together for nearly a full year before the election serves to illustrate a crucial point. It shows that in this election, we are serious. We are serious about offering an alternative that can win. We are serious about defeating the ANC and keeping the EFF and other radicals out of government. But above all, we are serious about rescuing South Africa. Because, like all of you in this audience today, we know that time is running out. But no party that wants to form the anchor of a new government in waiting could truly claim to be serious without a plan, without a blueprint. And that is why today is so radically different from the DA's previous pre-SONA events that many of you would have attended in previous years. Because I'm not here today to tell you about the state of South Africa. I think we all know the dire state that our country is in. I'm also not here to tell you what Cyril Ramaphosa is going to say at SONA, because frankly, it's irrelevant. We all know that he will only deflect, distract, and make empty promises that he cannot deliver on. What I am here today to do is to tell you about the DA's blueprint to rescue South Africa. And the truth is that never before has South Africa needed this blueprint than it does today. Just this past week, we saw yet another example about how President Ramaphosa is willing to put cadres before country. The President has now publicly told us that he refuses to act against the Deputy President that he appointed, despite alarming evidence which seems to point to systemic corruption and state capture perpetrated by his deputy, Paul Mashatile. And I want to emphasize an important point. The position of Deputy President is a political appointment. And that political appointment is made solely at the discretion of President Ramaphosa. It is therefore, frankly, another cowardly excuse for him to cower away and say that he needs the South African Police Service to tell him what to do. I've read the Constitution. The South African Police Service does not appoint or disappoint deputy presidents. The President of the Republic appoints and disappoints deputy presidents.